Alright, the next thing we're going to do here is make sure our pistons and our piston rings fit and match the block. Before we start putting everything together, we want to make sure it's right. So what I'll do is I'll just take my piston. Now, this stuff has all been machined to match, so I know this is all going to be right, but you need to check this stuff. Piston fits right in the cylinder. Now, these cylinders are bored 30 thousandths over size of stock. Good fit. And then what I've actually done is I set the top groove piston ring out of our piston ring set in here, and just to square it up, we're going to put the piston in just a hair of my hand and just eyeball it and make sure it's straight. And then we can see the piston ring and the piston ring gap. Now this is going to tell us if it's the right piston ring. If it's too big a gap, it's not going to be correct, and if it doesn't fit in flush, it's going to be too big and be the wrong ring. But anyway, this has a very small gap, you could tell. I mean, just eyeballing it, I'm going to say about 10 thousandths, which is just about right. Next thing we're going to do here is just check the piston ring gap. This is a 20 thousandths gauge, and it's fitting in there just kind of snug. It's a tight 20, probably 19 thousandths, which is just right for a rebuilt engine. So it's not going to burn oil because it's too loose, and it's also not going to run too tight, which is also a bad thing, which causes way too much friction. Anyway, we got a good gap there, so we have a matched piston ring, piston, and block set package here, so we're ready to assemble it. Well, looks like everything checks out okay. Everything's set up right and fits properly like it's supposed to, so we're going to throw these piston rings on the pistons and go to town on this thing. Next thing we need to do is we're going to install our piston rings. As you can see, we had all of these connecting rods resized. As you can see, the shiny new machining of the metal there. And what they did is bolt this bearing cap on. Tightly and actually remachine the circle, so it's a perfect circle, so the bearings will fit perfect. Okay, so anyways, now in your piston ring kit, what you have here is you have your top groove. What you have here is your top groove, second groove, and your oil ring rings, and you don't want to mix those up, so we're going to take them out and kind of leave them in order here. Set them right on the paper. I put down paper so it's nice and clean. Don't want to get this stuff dirty. Okay, so we have our top ring, center ring, bottom oil ring. And there are instructions in here. Get those out. Alright, according to the instructions here, first of all, your top rings, most of them have a dot marked for the upward. So we're going to look for that. Here's a top ring. And usually if they don't have a top, they can go on either way if there's no dot on it. I believe these are square. Every corner square on your top ring, they can go up and down. Doesn't matter which way you put them on. Now your second ring, that's going to be different. There's going to be a dot on this one. We have a dot right there, okay, which is actually this is a match to this particular right there. We have a little groove on the inside, which is part of your compression groove, and then on your oil rings you have one small oil ring goes on top, and then this spreader ring goes in between, and then one more, and that actually allows motor oil to float through this big chamber on the piston and lubricate the cylinder walls as it's going up and down. Otherwise it would burn right up. So that's what that one does. So we're going to put these piston rings on now. Alright, first thing we do here, we have our new piston. We're going to take the center part of the oil ring and just spread it around and During this whole process, you want to try not to scratch this piston at all. You don't have to stretch these rings much, and they'll go right around. And we're going to take a thin one. Okay, now that I've put this on, as you can see, it should spin freely and fit in the groove properly. I like to find where the gap of it is. There's a gap right here. And I'm going to cover that with a solid part of this small steel ring. So I'm kind of going to put it at 90 degrees. So you start one end in here, just kind of walk it around. It'll go right in. Bam, right in there. So you put one on the top of that. And I'd like to go 180 degrees from that gap on that small ring, which is right here. Just start it in a little slot, it'll fit right in there. Just walk it around. Hold it, walk it over there. Right in. Perfect. Just always make sure that they move freely though, because you want to make sure it's on straight. See that? Now we're going to go to our second ring. This is the one that was marked, and this is the one that was marked. We're going to go to our second ring now. This is the one that was marked for the top part of the second ring, and we'll put that on in a similar fashion. I like to just hook that right in there. Slowly walk it over the top. It goes right in. Top groove ring. Like I said before, this one can go on either upside down or right side up. It's the same way. Just line up your gap. Goes right on. Now when we install these in the engine, we're going to put, right now, as you notice, we have the gaps in the same place right now. Now when we install it in the engine, we don't want to do that. We'll have one gap facing that way and turn this one 180 degrees all the way to the bottom. So we have a gap there and a gap there. And that'll give us our best compression in our engine. So just make sure you do that when you put the pistons in. Well, we'll do one more piston here. Same process. Center part of your oil ring goes on. Top piece of the oil ring. Just walk it right over there. Fits right in easily. Make sure it moves. Find the gap, which is right here. Just gap this one 180 degrees, just like the other rings. Fits right on there perfectly. These pretty much interlock itself, so you'll know if they're on right. Now this is the second ring. You can tell there's the up dot right there. There's a dot. This part goes up. Put it right on there. Easy. Top ring. Just start it in there, right in the groove. I hold it in with my thumb a little. Stretch it on. Just be careful. Don't pull them too far. They'll go right on if you're gentle. See, I got this gap lined up together. We're going to go 180 degrees again on that top groove. Turn it. There you go. That's what you want. These should move freely too, in and out. So anyway, we're going to put the rest of the rings on these pistons, and then we're going to put the crankshaft in the engine.